to arm wrestling tonight. It's arm wrestling tonight. Today, sorry, let me get my headphones on. We're going to look very officious here. We are in the new studio, and it's an absolute joy to be with you here. We're testing out the new studio. I don't have my right-hand man with me. There is a vacant chair right there where Hollywood Matt Connolly would ordinarily find himself, but the great man is not here in order to share the studio, this very, very special moment with us all. So I would like to thank everybody who's taken their time to get behind the AWE. Over recent weeks, there has been a lot going on behind the scenes in the world of AWE. So I'd like to take a moment just to share some of what is going on with you. First and foremost, there's been a changing of the guard at AWE. Let me just grab this up. So there has been a changing of the guard at AWE, and we have said officially goodbye to one of our founders, Ryan Bowen. And I just want to take a moment just to mention his fantastic contribution to AWE. Of course, AWE would not have likely have begun at all if it wasn't for Ryan Bowen's contribution. Early on, Matt and I had been thinking about getting a big event going for arm wrestling. It was in that post-COVID era where at that point in time, there hadn't been an event that brought together all of the emerging stars of arm wrestling. And there were a few new faces, but there were some established names. There were some old scores that needed to be settled and some new rivalries that needed to be put to bed. And that's where the thought of AWE 1 really came from. Now, at exactly that same time, we were talking with Ryan because Ryan was gracious enough to reach out to us as we were planning this event and lending his kind assistance, and had been there in the background, just voluntarily sharing his thoughts and helping us along the way. And Ryan had mentioned that he was looking at bringing Chance Shaw out from the US, and I guess you'd have to think back to a few years now, but Ryan experienced or enjoyed that surprise upset victory over Chance Shaw over in Florida. And so Chance was keen to make his way over to Australia and settle the score and get a win back on Ryan. And Ryan was keen to make that happen. And so when we'd been sharing with Ryan our ambition to hold this larger scale event as part of the Apex Sport Fest, Ryan said, well, you know what, maybe I've got a headliner for you, and it's me and Chance. And that just gave us the impetus to really build out that card underneath. And of course, you know, Ryan has such good relationships with so many people in Australian arm wrestling that it wasn't long before Ryan had compiled an extensive list of arm wrestlers that were keen to jump on board and to prove themselves under the bright lights of a major event. And really, it was the first time a major event of that style had come to bear. The larger events previously in Australian arm wrestling had been run by the AAF, the Australian Arm Wrestling Federation, and they'd all taken a tournament format. And you had the state titles prior to COVID and the national titles that all ran along those lines. But there hadn't been a major super match event in Australia and certainly not one of this nature. And so it was very much a first of, and we really are very grateful for Ryan's contribution in terms of bringing that together and for also having faith in Matt and I very early on. And so anyway, AWE 1 came and went, and we established the now famous AWE branding. It was all very warmly received. Ryan and Matt were on the microphone commentating throughout the event, and I think did an amazing job. They are one of my favourite commentary teams of all time, and so the whole thing came together. It was a really nice production. Now, we didn't make an enormous amount of money or anything, but for us, it really was a proof of concept, and through that, it gave us enough. Sorry, and through that, oops, through. Sorry, I'm just going to click out of this, and there we go. And through that, it gave us enough confidence to want to run on and do the next thing, which of course morphed into AWE2. And so before we got there, we thought, you know what, we if we're going to make a go of this, if we're going to really do something serious here and establish an arm wrestling promotion or arm wrestling business, then let's do this properly. So we established a company. We got everything sorted out. We uh, got our branding all ratified and decided. You know what? Let's do this properly. And so we formalised our agreement and we formed AWE as a registered company here in Australia and made it all legal, made it all legit, and that was it was a beautiful beginning. And of course, Ryan continued to play a pivotal role throughout the early days of AWE. AWE2 was a huge success. Again, maybe not financially, but as a proof of concept, I think it really did precipitate uh, the whole uh, exclusive contracts debacle that then ensued. And of course, there was lingering bitterness between Ryan and Engen Terzi that remained unresolved at that point in time. And some might say that we were caught up in the collateral damage of all of that. And so very shortly after the AWE two event, many of you be familiar now that Todd Hutchins was signed up almost as soon as he got off the plane and became the first athlete to be signed as part of the exclusive contracts era. And more power to Todd. He's such a wonderful athlete, so good to work with. Really is a promoter's dream, and but also a man who you might feel has maybe 5 or 10 really good years left in him. We could have 20. Who knows? The way that he's going, he could be around for many years longer than that. But I think in his mind felt that maybe he's got 5 or 10 years, and if he does, and there's a promotion throwing big money out, he'd be silly to say no to that. And also the certainty of matches, and so it's very natural to see why with monetary incentive dangled in front of an athlete and with certainty of matches on a big scale event, it's very easy. That's a very, very attractive offering. And of course, Engen brought a lot to that table. And so those athletes that signed on early on were signing on to what they believed would be the next big thing in arm wrestling. And I think it's fair to say that, that was an accurate judgment. Those athletes that signed on have been part of the vehicle that has really put arm wrestling on the map for many, and is now very much the focal point for the entire arm wrestling world. And we know that as a promotion because a few years ago, when we started off with AWE and 1 and 2, we could get traction with the other influencers in the arm wrestling space. They would cover our events and they'd talk about our events in the lead up to and post event. They would cover what was going on, and that is almost impossible to get that same level of coverage now as the as the arm wrestling world or the arm wrestling industry now zeroes in and focuses very, very strongly on East versus West. And why? Because when you're talking about EVW, you get clicks, you get views. If you're talking about the latest controversy amongst the athletes or amongst the owners of that promotion, then it almost assures you of getting clicks and traction for your videos. And that's of course what these influencers need. Arm wrestling is very much now an industry in itself, and there's a lot of mouths that need to get fed, and not just in the East versus West ecosystem, but outside of that as well. But it is now very much an East versus West centric community. And so anyway, so we go through that. Now that was quite a tumultuous time for us after AWE too. We really felt that we'd had that proof of concept, that we'd shown the sport in a really professional light. We had some great stars over from the US, Artem Taranenko, Jordan Seal, Todd, of course, and there were several others that we'd approached and spoken with that were keen to either be there for that event, but the schedules didn't align, but would have been keen to come to the next big AWE event, and of course that didn't eventuate. Um, those doors quickly closed on AWE at that point in time. And that really meant that for us at AWE, we had to pivot. We had to move in a new direction. And some of you that have been following AWE closely would know that we pivoted towards our friends at Pro Punja League and the Indian marketplace. And having seen the amazing success of Pro Punja and understanding that there was a huge audience out there of arm wrestling lovers on the subcontinent, that we thought that might be a market that we could tap into, very similar to how cricket is well loved between our two countries. And if we could set up a rivalry within arm wrestling that somewhat mirrored that's experienced in the cricketing world, then we'd be a long way forward to progressing arm wrestling in the mind's eye of sports fans here in Australia. But because of visa issues and other complications that arose, that just didn't transpire, and it really forced us to pivot once again. And at that point, we didn't have access to the international talent, which meant we were unlikely to have a successful pay-per-view if we were to run a pay-per-view event. We understood that without pay-per-view funds and that necessary revenue, it's also going to be difficult to hold a really strong international standard event and to produce that in a really high quality way that would get us one step closer to being on TV. And so we really had to look at all of the alternatives. And one of those was give up. And Ryan, to his credit, in spite of the embargo and the restrictions that were placed on Ryan with East versus West and eventually King of the Table, there was Ryan was keen to persist with this project with Matt and myself, and all credit to Ryan. We moved to AWE Underground Series, which was really stripping back arm wrestling back to its core, which is a bunch of strong dudes in a shed just trying to work out who is the strongest. And so that's the turn that we then took, without the sponsorship dollars, without the pay-per-view sales, and without the access to the top talent. We, rather than give up, decided to try and keep this project alive. And so we went to Marcus Satirai's shed, and held that next event, and had some of the big names who came along to AWE One come together once again and support us at AWE. And I guess this is quite timely as well, just to thank all of those athletes that stood by us in those moments. And and that was a success. Certainly a success enough in terms of the viewership that it encouraged us to continue on with that formula of holding the next event. And there was that next event where things took another little turn for us, and for the positive. And we saw the emergence of Rickard Bornman as an arm wrestling superstar, having cut through that field at our second underground event, and claiming that AWE heavyweight title. And from there, we've now seen Rickard emerge onto the biggest stage in the world and compete successfully at East versus West, and booked again to compete against Pablo in just a matter of a few weeks' time. So we started to realize our goal, and which was from the start, provide a platform for athletes, and give them a springboard from which that they could grow from and move forward from. And that's certainly what we've seen with the likes of Rickard Bornman and others, of course. as they've made their debuts on AWE and then moved forward, and also been a home for athletes like Mateo Arangi Morris, who has moved forward and performed on some of those big stages internationally, but has loyally returned and been part of whatever event that we might have going on, and has always been prepared to support us. So it's been athletes that have been moving up and down and across the spectrum of arm wrestling experiences, and we've just been blessed that those athletes have all played their role. Ryan Bowen was also our very first heavyweight. Sorry, no, he wasn't. He was our second heavyweight champion, having beaten Gunters Bykovs, which was somewhat of a career highlight for Ryan at the time. Ryan had not beaten Gunters up to that point, and Gunters had loomed large in Ryan's mind since he first started in arm wrestling. Gunters was the man at the top of the tree. And so it was an enormous thrill for Ryan professionally to have overcome, in his mind, the insurmountable champion in Gunters Bykovs. And so a real special moment right here in this very building, as a matter of fact, where Ryan secured that his first AWE belt. Ryan was also our Intercontinental champion, and he secured that belt when we had to rebirth it after it took its trip home with Todd Hutchins, never to return back to the AWE. And so we had to think long and hard whether or not we would reissue the Intercontinental belt. And if we did, what would be a worthy matchup, and what would be the shape of that belt in the years to come. And so we did think long and hard about it. And when the whole matter of the Indian contingent not being able to make its way over to Australia, when that all happened, we made up our mind that, well, if the mountain's not going to come to us, we're going to go to the mountain. And so we packed up our bags, figuratively speaking, for me, but for AWE. But for Ryan and Matt, they jumped on a plane and headed over to India. And Ryan competed in what has now become the most watched AWE match of all time, which is his match with Mazahir Saidu, which was an absolute epic battle, and just an emotional roller coaster in itself, and such a hard-fought, tight match, and it really did come down to millimeters and seconds. And Ryan walked away from that matchup victorious, and started his own love affair with India thereafter. And it is in some part that was a real defining moment for Ryan. He overcome the adversity of performing overseas in a alien climate, in a strange world, but a world he's now come to love, and has spent a lot of time in India over the last 18 or so months, and has really fallen in love with the country. And I guess that's in some parts why Ryan isn't able to remain as active with AWE as he would ultimately have liked to. And so the tyranny of distance and the difficulties of managing a business from the other side of the world, and with having your business partners on the other side of the world, is such that for Ryan, he's had to make that determination to draw a line in the sand, and to put his energies where it's most profitable and where it's most worth his time right now, which is really focusing in on those relationships that really matter in his world, zeroing in on becoming the best arm wrestling commentator on the planet, and making sure that those opportunities that he has in order to do that aren't compromised by his role at AWE. And it's always a precarious position for Ryan, and in some parts for AWE, where Ryan had become synonymous with AWE, and that could have well restricted his opportunities with other promotions. And of course, it's the other promotions that put food on the table for Ryan. And AWE is a somewhat of a side project and a passion project for all of us that we hope one day might emerge and be enormously successful and would be amazing. But the reality is at this point in time, it's a passion project for has been for all three of us. So Ryan sadly has decided that he sadly for AWE and personally for Matt and myself, but he's got to throw his time and energy behind his own career and make sure that he is setting himself up to make the most of the opportunities that are before him. And of course, Matt and I wish Ryan all the very best and hope that he can achieve his dreams in arm wrestling. He's always had this aspiration to be a world champion at some weight division, and we know his weight can fluctuate, so we don't know quite what that weight division might be. But we also know that probably Ryan's greatest contribution to this sport is in the years to come. He's a keen mind. He's got a wonderful way of analysing a match in real time and communicating that through the microphone that I feel it's not shared by too many others in any sport. And so we're very fortunate to have somebody of Ryan's caliber behind the microphone in this sport. And I really do feel that behind the mic and behind the scenes is where Ryan's greatest contribution is likely to be in this sport in the years to come. Even as his powers on the table may fade in 20 or 30 years, who knows when. We're very fortunate in this sport that the athletes do have particularly longevity. But for Ryan, as his attentions turn away from being competitive and world class on the table, one thing's for sure, it'll be a lot longer down the track before Ryan is anything less than world class on the mic and behind the scenes. So, wishing Ryan all the very best and hoping that his success continues for many years to come. So, what does that mean for AWE? Well, for many of you mightn't be aware, but this has essentially been this has happened over a period of time, and so we've had certainly an opportunity to adjust. And Ryan's direct involvement in AWE has waned over a period of the last 6 to 8 months, and so where Ryan hasn't been as active as he was, and so we've what you've seen of AWE of our last two events, our middleweight championship matchup, and maybe even going back to the Grand Prix tournament before that. But certainly the last two events is very much a continuance of that legacy, and that very much had Matt and I's fingerprints all over it. So if you've liked the Champions League event that we just held a matter of weeks ago, and you like the production values, and you enjoyed the way that we presented the sport, then that just gives you a taste of what's to come. We are very much moving in the direction of taking arm wrestling to a highly watchable piece of content that can be viewed anywhere around the world, and we feel that our mission has not changed. We want to present the sport in the very best of light, and we also want to continue to provide a platform for those emerging athletes so that they can ultimately achieve all that this sport has to offer for them. So I'm just going to go to the comments. Palin says, this looks great. Thank you very much. I'm glad you like the set. There will be some changes here in the background. We've got some wonderful images from previous AWE events, which you'll see pop up. What you can't see is what's directly in front of me, which is a 70-inch screen. So it's really easy for me to see everything, and we can self-direct very, very comfortably from this location. So which is great. Palin also says, bummed to hear Ryan is out, but best believe our support for AWE will continue. So thank you very much for that, mate. I really appreciate it. Very kind words. And we've certainly been fortunate to enjoy the support of athletes and fans alike, and it's not anything we take for granted, and it's something we continue to work really hard to reward your persistent encouragement in AWE with the best that we can do to promote the sport. Cobra says, studio looks good. You're looking good too. Thank you very much. I really appreciate those kind words. Going to watch Ricketts' match with his parents and Terrence. Yes, it'll be great. I really hope AWE grows 1,000 times. Please don't know what people don't know what they're missing. So thank you very much. Appreciate those kind words as well. And further to that, Cobus continues, the production of that event was awesome. You should just continue with what you're doing, and I'm sure the more and more people will join. So thank you very much. That's certainly the hope and expectation that we, and you know what's really cool? Bird, Dave Bloody Stockbro, thank you very much. When I show AWE events to people that they've got no idea about arm wrestling. I'll give you an example. I was at a charity auction event just a few weeks ago. There's about 500 people there. I was the charity auctioneer for it, and at the table were some what do you say, media personalities. These are people that are recognisable to at a local level here in our part of the world, and so whenever I get the opportunity to chat to people of that nature that are in the media landscape, I'll always insert this thing about being involved in arm wrestling, and that we've got a promotion, and it's the best promotion in the Southern Hemisphere is what I'll say to them, and that pricks their attention, and then they're curious then to kind of watch it. So I'll grab out the phone and swipe through to the YouTube channel and show them, and their minds are blown. I mean, they have no idea that arm wrestling is even a sport, and then to see it like as a codified sport that's being and where there's great lighting and there's awesome production values, and they can see the athletes are professional and serious, and these are big guys, and my God, these guys are actually training. This isn't just a pub sport or something that kids do and over the lunch table. This is a thing, and as soon as you see the penny drop with people, they start. You can see them think, so where else is this done, and what is going on with this sport? And I did have the opportunity to bump into one of these people that I shared the AWE content with at this dinner, and they came over to me and said, you know what, I'm getting Devon Larratt pop up in my feed, and I said to them, so did you know who Devon Larratt was before? And they went, I'd never heard about it, but you know what? Since I saw your video, I've been talking about arm wrestling, and it keeps popping up in my feed, and now I'm getting Devon Larratt videos. I was like, well, it's begun. It's begun. You'll be on a table soon yourself. So all it takes is a conversation sometimes, and for us, it's a conversation, and it's showing people that this can be a real sport, and for our athletes and those people that are emerging in the sport, really showing them that look, we might not be the biggest stage in the world, but we will offer you a stage. We will provide you with an opportunity. We will do what we can to allow you to be the next Rickett Bornman, if indeed that is your aspiration. And there are so many young guys and girls toiling away in their sheds, getting onto the weights every night, getting on the pulley machines and pushing themselves so that they can now get a shot to be on an AWE table or to go to an over-the-top event and to prove themselves and to be that next superstar. And that's what's exciting, that there's now a pathway for athletes to be able to get there and to make it in this sport. And the next phase for us is working hard, and there's a let's say it's a passion project. If I could fill out a wish list right now for people for AWE and dedicate myself fully to AWE as a full-time endeavor, then what I would be doing is doing everything I can to rack up the sponsors so that we could run a whole season, not just here in Australia, but against the guys in South Africa, against the guys in Polynesia and New Zealand and Southeast Asia and beyond. But so that we could have a traveling circus of arm wrestling, so that much like you would in the football season, you'd have an arm wrestling season where for 26, 28 weeks of the year, there would be another match, another event, something for emerging stars to look forward to train for, and do to aspire to be a part of. And for us to uncover that talent would be a great joy. I think we're edging there closely. When we started this 3 years ago, people would have thought you were crazy for saying these things, but we were saying it then. People were calling us crazy, but you know what? We're just sounding a little less crazy now, because we're seeing it in part with East versus West. In spite of all of their dramas and difficulties, they're putting on bigger and better shows, and are now that place where athletes know, if they're on an East versus West card, that they've made it. That they've made it to the pinnacle of the sport. Now, are they making millions of dollars? Well, maybe there's one man in the sport that's getting close, but there's a time in the not too distant future when athletes can aspire to exactly that, to be a professional arm wrestler, to have the bills paid so they don't need the second job. They can just train hard, win on the table, and put food on the table for their families, and rely upon that for their living. And that's that exciting time just over the horizon. I'm really looking forward to. The question comes through from Cobus. Have you watched Armdruk is Groot? It is Afrikaans, translated to Arm Wrestling is Big. There you can see some of the stuff. Yes, I am very, very familiar with Armdruk is Groot, and have been in communications with the guys over there. They're doing amazing things. I know they've been working on a regional qualifier, North and South, bringing together the very best of the athletes to compete. We've had very cordial discussions with Amtruk is Groot, and we would dearly love for the economics behind bringing us together in a festival of arm wrestling, where we see the best of South Africa versus the best of Australia come together. We would love to see that kind of come together, and I think we're impatiently waiting for that to happen. We're super keen, and as much as that we're almost on the same side of the world, the difficulties of transport is such, and the wages in South Africa are such, that super expensive. I think it works out to be about 4 or 5 times more expensive in real terms for South African athletes to pay their way to get to Australia, and for Australians to get over there, it's also quite expensive. And then, of course, there's the other concerns around security and some of the, although I've been assured that for as long as the Armdrukers group guys are in control, that we've got no problems over there. They'll definitely look after us, make sure everybody is all safe and well. And of course, we've got a very own South African superstar right here, Enrique Bornman. So now, I did promise at the top and in the headline for this particular podcast that there'd be some more Bornman news. Now, of course, many of you be familiar that Rickett is performing against Pablo at the upcoming East versus West. So that's very, very exciting. There's some great things going on in the world of South African arm wrestling, and of course, Underhook is recently had their big event just a matter of a couple of weeks ago, and wonderful to see some emerging stars there. And one athlete that was not able to compete at that AIG event, because he's not quite old enough, is the younger of the Borman brothers, Duvan Borman. Now, I'd encourage everybody who is watching right now and who sees this video to follow Rickett, and then jump on the links there, and you'll see his brother Duvan in the most recent post of the last 24 hours. There's been a bit of back and forth between these two lads, because Rickett just jumped on and got on the lift 45 kilos, and then his younger brother is only 16 years of age, but 110 kilos already. Jumped on and did 45 kilos himself. This is this is a very, very special young man. If you think Rickard Borman is a once in a generation athlete, then maybe your thoughts are going to be shaken up by this, because as it turns out, lightning does strike twice in the Borman household, and we have something very, very special in young Devan making his way up through the ranks. And he's already the South African under 110 kilo champion at 16 years of age, and it won't be long. It won't be long before this boy is doing great things with AIG. And once they lower that age limit, I think there's going to be a few guys who are going to lose their little spot in the pecking order in South African arm wrestling. So it's very, very exciting times for South African arm wrestling. Of course, Terence making bold claims of being the number one in the Southern Hemisphere. And number one in the Southern Hemisphere is obviously claiming that he can beat Lachlan Adair and Rickard Borman. And of course, Rickard Borman is a AWE heavyweight champion. He's remained undefeated since his matchup just at AWE 2. So we it's a very, very bold claim. And from what I recall, I think it's been a long time, if at all, that Terence Opperman and Lachlan Adair have gripped up. So it's going to be so there's three men that are claiming that title right now. And just in brief discussions with Rickard yesterday, Rickard definitely feels that he's capable of beating both of those men. Terence was feeling very confident that he is the number one guy in South Africa and the number one in the Southern Hemisphere. And of course, Lachlan Adair, he's a big part of that discussion as well. If people are claiming that title, he's going to want to be on the table with whoever it is that's making that bold claim. So there is currently a three-way tussle for number one in the Southern Hemisphere, and just right there in the background, in the shadows, is the young Devan Borman, just waiting for his opportunity. So exciting times in the world of arm wrestling, especially on this side of the planet. And Cobus just mentions, I like the way you think. You're doing a great job for the sport. Thank you very much for that. And Cobus finally mentions, I've chatted a bit with Devan, going to have some practice pools with him on the 15th of August. Can't wait to hear what your thoughts are after you've gripped up with the younger Borman. And it'll be very interesting to see what your personal experience is of the rising star there in South Africa. So exciting times. You've got some great stars emerging in the world of arm wrestling right now, and in strength sports just generally, with New World's Strongest Man being a South African. I know that there's a lot going on over there right now, really proving to the world that pound for pound, you guys are certainly punching above your weight. So and really delivering some world-class athletes to the world. So so there you have it. There's a bit of the story for you guys. The Just to recap, Ryan Bowen is no longer officially part of the AWE family, although he will always hold a very special place in our heart, and is actually booked to compete at our next AWE Super Match Series of Champions. So Ryan will be back in an AWE shirt very, very soon, but he's no longer one of the captains of the ship, and we wish Ryan every success in all of his endeavours. And of course, young Devan Borman is a force to be reckoned with. And so, ladies and gentlemen, keep your eye out on that young man. And if you're not already following him, then please head over to Instagram and follow young Devan Borman and be part of his journey as he rises through the ranks to the biggest stages of the world. I'm Dave Stockbridge. Thank you so much for joining me once again on Arm Wrestling Tonight. We hope very, very soon that this chair will be filled with my very good friend, well, your friend and mine, Hollywood Matt Connolly. So we can't wait for Matt to make his return, and he'll be with us, I believe, tomorrow. So stay tuned, and we hope that you like the set, and that there's a whole lot more to come from AWE in the next few weeks. So stay tuned. There's some big announcements over some new sponsors coming on board, and a whole lot more exciting stuff that'll be happening between now and year's end at AWE. So thank you very much for the support, guys. Thank you for your time, for tuning in, and we look forward to bringing you more next time.